the day, and then all of a sudden, well, so tell us a little about your days as an agent in Los Angeles, because that's a high pressure job, and being a
Mm-hmm.
comedy agent. Being a comedy agent is got to be a little more difficult than being an acting agent, because comics are like hawks. They always want to just latch on to you. Wherever the fuck you go, it's always about, always starts out as I'm your friend, and this next thing you know, they're pitching you a fucking show idea. So how was it dealing with that at the Comedy Store every night?
Okay. When I got to this is key to the story. When I got to LA, right, and I went through the William Morris training program, which I had to start in the mailroom, famous mailroom. Then I had to go dispatch packages, to like Walter Matthau and B. Arthur. It was insane.
Right.
They told me to find my niche at the agency.
Okay. What does that mean?
So,
Find your
so
niche?
I was looking around. I was looking in the TV department. I was looking in the motion picture department, the commercial department, the personal appearance department. But there were other people going into those departments. I wanted to be unique. So I told them my niche is going to be comedy, because you do not have a dedicated comedy agent who oversees TV, motion picture, commercials, and personal appearances. This is brilliant.
That's right. But you were a lover of comedy. To pick comedy, though, to pick comedy, you had to be a lover of comedy, I would think.
Yeah. I grew up just like you, listening to George Carlin, Richard Pryor, Red Fox. Oh my God, he was dirty. In the 70s, when we would have the family dinner, and then after the family dinner, we put on, little George Carlin.
Yeah, I liked early Carlin, middle Carlin, and then as Carlin was getting older, I think he started getting a lot more political, and I think he was just a frustrated old man at the end, but he was still funny.
Yeah.
So what happened then with William Morris? So what did you end up doing?
So I had a fight with them. It wasn't easy. It was a constant fight. But I was like, I nagged them so much about this that they kind of put me under Fred Mock over there with Variety, and then I stole an office, an empty office, right?
How you steal one? You just move in and start paying rent? What the fuck do you do?
Well, it's kind of interesting because I had gotten off of all my training, right, and now I was in that sweet spot, find your location, and I said, all right, well, Fred, there's a spot at the end of this hallway. I want to have my work area there. I didn't tell him it was an office. I just said it was the local spot. So he said, I need to sign off on that bill. Just put it in a memo and send it to me. So I put it in a memo, and he signed off on it, and I got an office.
Everything's got to be a memo. And then you had an office.
And then he signed off, and I got a desk. And then I ordered a TV set because I needed a VCR to view tapes.
Yeah, of course. Well, especially in the comedy department, because every comedian had a tape. I'm sure you were getting FedExes and UPSs every day. Loaded.
Yeah. So then
where'd you go from there? You stayed in that office for a while, and then you just worked your way up to. You just start as a mail room guy and eventually become the president? There's got to be some kind of in between.
Yes. Yeah, so what happened was I started going to the Comedy Store, the Laugh Factory. I had to get my footing. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
But then I heard that there was this club in South Central LA. And it was called the Comedy Act Theater. Michael Williams was running it, And
all the black comedians would be there. All the black comedians, I think, for the people out there.
Absolutely.
That's who played. We didn't go there. We just didn't do it. Not because we didn't want to, but because we just wanted to kind of not do it because, it was a dangerous area, South Central.
I'll never forget it. The first time I drove down there and I parked kind of like in front of the club, there was this guy hanging out on the corner, and I get out of my car and I'm in my William Morris stuff. I'm going to watch your car for you tonight, okay? I said,
Okay.
"Oh, you are?" Yeah. He says, "Yeah." I said, "Yeah, I'll give you $20. Oh, I need 40. Oh, okay. Here's $20.
Even
And because
negotiating.
yeah, I had my brand new Cadillac with the North Star engine. It was sweet, gold trim wheels. It was sweet.
Yeah, but when they
So
found out who you were, at one point, were you still paying to park, or did you get a free parking at that point?
no, it was just this guy. Whenever sometimes the other people wouldn't mess with me because people found out who I was, but I had a relationship with this guy.
This guy was almost like your personal bodyguard of the car.
Yeah, absolutely. He was watching my car, making sure that because I had a feeling if I didn't pay him, I was going to come out there with no wheels on the car. You know,
car. Yeah, you had no car. That
the car
$40
was
saved
going
you
to be
trip.
accurate. Yeah.
What about so when you were at the Comedy Act, what made you gravitate towards the Comedy Act? Were you looking for a certain style of comedian, or did you just? I mean, because you have, like you said, you had the Laugh Factory, the Improv, and the store there at your fingertips. What made you say no? I'm going to go to South Central and figure it out over there. Was this something that you had in your mind? There's got to be something to that.
Yeah, I was looking for the next wave. I remember there were always waves of comedians, like from Flip Wilson, Bill Cosby, Richard Pryor, and I was looking for that next wave, and I didn't really see it at the Comedy Store, or at the Laugh Factory, or the Improv. So I found it at the Comedy Act Theater. It was urban comedy. Okay.
Urban. So that was the next wave right there.
Right. Now there was another agent that I saw down there, and his name was Bill Gross from Bill Gross, and he saw me down there, and he was like he came up to me and said, "Bill, so you found the spot, Bill. Congratulations. But Robin Harris is mine, okay? You stay away from Robin Harris."
Yeah.
And I said, "Bill."
Robin was hot.
I said, "Bill, I'm just here looking at the show, man. I don't have any intentions. I just want to, get a feel for the joint, that's all."
Yeah.
So anyway, he went back to his seat, and this kid goes up. His name is Martin Lawrence. First time I'm there.
He was just a kid.
And he goes up, and he starts doing his set. Maybe he has like 10 minutes. And I went, wow, holy smokes. He just had a presence.
He did.
And his timing and everything. So I think I said, oh, my God, I think this is the guy. I think this guy. So after the show, I went up to him and I said, "Hey, Martin, I'm Bill Branca. I'm a new agent at William Morris. Okay. I want to represent you, and I think together I could make you a star. And he liked everything that I said because I was talking because I said star. He had aspirations of being like Eddie Murphy star. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And I wasn't being short with him, like, we're going to get you a TV show. No. So he said, "I'll come see you tomorrow." I said, "Okay." So
Unbelievable.
I have my
little
tiny office, my desk. He comes in there and he's with his crew. Okay. He traveled with a crew. And he had his gold glasses on. He had like his white, leather jacket. I mean, he didn't take his glasses off once when he came to see me.
Okay.
And I said, "Martin, so let's get started, man. I want to sign you, blah, blah, blah." I said, "You're going to have the whole agency behind us, blah, blah, blah."
I'm hearing something in the background loud. What is that? Oh, okay. I don't know.
So what happened was,
yeah.
He said, all right, Bill. You're my agent. Okay, Bill." So then I said to him, who's your manager? And he said Topper Carew. So I said, great,
Okay.
if you don't mind, let me go talk to Topper Carew, okay? And he gave me his contact information. I met with Topper, and then we had this plan. He did Do the Right Thing. That was with what's his name?
Danny Aiello.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No,
The director.
yeah.
I forgot his friggin' name already. I must be going.
Spike Lee. Isn't it crazy?
Spike Lee. It was
Spike Lee.
Yeah.
So he had a little scene in that. Topper Carew said, "I'm going to be producing a movie called Talking Dirty After Dark." Oh, I said, okay. So we have some heat on him, right? He did that. He did this, and I felt that was great. So, long story short, I signed him. I started promoting him, and I was getting him like $500 club spots. You know what I'm saying?
Uh-huh.
Plus his airfare. But I said to him, Martin, you have to do these. I need you to go on the road so people could say you're reliable, you're showing up, you're giving a hell of a performance. And, he said, okay, Bill. Everything was good. Maybe 6 months into this, Robin Harris got a deal on the new Fox network to do his own urban comedy show, sitcom.
Right. Okay.
Robin Harris unfortunately died of a heart attack.
Yeah.
And it just, everybody was really so sad because Robin was sweet dick, really. Yeah.
He was a great guy. Yeah. Very nice man.
So Topper Carew and I said, Topper, what are you going to do? He says, I'm going to get him that slot. Okay. So what happened was, I think it was Chris Albrecht at the time. I think he was running it. Yeah, that's right. It was HBO who produced it for Fox. And Chris Albrecht, he ended up giving the green light to this guy who was nobody. Okay. With that, Martin put together his show,
Yeah.
And then it was time for the show to air. And the show aired, and it was getting pretty good reviews. Fox only had 50 stations. I mean, it was nothing. So this is what
Fox
I said.
was the smallest. They weren't really in the top then.
No, they were brand new.
Yeah.
So I figured out this is how we made Martin Lawrence a star. Okay, and this is my secret formula. When Martin Lawrence's show aired, we did the taping on a Thursday. I booked him on a Friday in one of the new markets that Fox picked up. Then I booked him on a Saturday in another market that Fox picked up. And I booked him Sunday. So we had 3 shows every weekend, okay? And with him going to those markets, I contacted the Fox affiliate, right? And I said, that new show you have, Martin Lawrence show? I'm bringing Martin Lawrence to your town. And they would get really excited. They said, "Really?" I said, "Yeah, I want to put him on air. You could interview him about his new show, and we could plug our concert." It was like genius. They started inviting the advertisers who were buying spots on the Martin Lawrence show to come to the station to meet the star of the show. It was insane.
That is insane.
Then we invited them to the show. I always gave them seats in the front row. And this started to get bigger and bigger and bigger. Where we started at 1,500 seats, we ended up 2,500 seats, 5,000 seat arenas.
So he was doing those numbers then.
Yeah, but no one could understand this because he had nothing. All he had was that show. Oh, right. And while his show came out, he had Def Comedy Jam with Russell Simmons and Stan Latham, SLBG Entertainment. Okay, so what was happening was SLBG went to Martin, and Martin said, check with me. I think it was Stan, was the person I spoke to, and they said, we want Martin to come out on our Def Comedy Jam tour. I said, no. Martin's going out on his own tour to promote his own show. Okay,
Right,
I'm really
right.
sorry.
Yeah.
And they were like pissed off at me.
But he was on
They were
Def
pissed.
Comedy too. He was on Def a few times, wasn't he?
He was the host.
Yeah, but
Yeah,
like when he was the host when he was the host of Def Comedy Jam, does that make you an executive producer on the show? Do you get that?
Well, I couldn't take those titles at the time because I was I was an agent.
You weren't a manager. If you were a manager, you were able to do that, right?
Yeah.
So that would be like a conflict of interest, I guess, right?
Hey, what's that vacuum cleaner? Right?
Yeah, I hear that. I hear like a big noise in the background. On Tony, I think it's on Tony's end.
Yeah, I think maybe you hear the equipment, the
Okay.
fans on the equipment. Yeah.
Oh, I got you. Yeah.
Yeah.
So Bill, when you met
Yeah.
Martin, would you say, I mean, I'm going to say you have you should be credited for his career. Actually, I mean, that's something that, even though he was working, little rooms in L.A., you did take him to the mainstream, wouldn't you say?
I mean, absolutely. I built him up from a 1,000-seat arena to like 5,000, 7,500 seats, and that was all because in the markets that I put him in, they flooded it with advertising promoting the concert because it was the Fox network, and I brought him to the local station to meet the station manager, to meet the advertisers, to meet people in the community. So I mean, of course we were going to sell out. Then we started doing one show. We started adding two shows. But when it was listed on Polestar, the concert magazine, no one understood. How's Martin Lawrence selling out? He's been on the scene for 5 minutes.
Wow. What was his biggest audience at that time? Would you say was he past the 5,000 mark?
Oh my God! Yeah. But I gotta let you know something else. Right before this happened with Martin Lawrence and William Morris let me go. They said to me, we've had you in this comedy position. We knew it wasn't going to work out. I said, what do you mean it's not working out? I got Martin Lawrence. He's about ready to blow up. They says, oh yeah, we've heard that all before. Bill, you're not making enough money to cover you, to cover your secretary, to cover your expenses. It's just a business decision. We got to let you go.
Wow.
Wow.
See, they'll fuck you. William, any agency will fuck you. But then again, it was okay because you ended up opening up the Branca Agency on Sunset, right, in West Hollywood.
Yeah, so I opened up my. See, that was like a turn back moment or something like that. Like, do I keep going forward? Because this was devastating, losing William Morris. Like the turn back moment was maybe this ain't for me. Maybe this is God telling me I'm not supposed to do this.
Yeah, but I find it interesting with the Martin Lawrence thing. Real quick, just to backtrack, because you said you were going to the Comedy Act Theater in L.A. And back in those days, the Comedy Store was popping too. I mean, you had people in there like everybody thought that Eddie Griffin was going to be the next wave. You didn't see that, or did you? Did you not? Was he already into it? I mean, like, because Eddie was slated for being the next wave.
Yeah, no, I already signed Eddie as his agent over at William Morris.
You were Eddie's agent, right?
Yeah, there's that picture of me. You have that?
You have that picture of
Eddie in my office?
Take a look.
At the desk.
And this was, you got to remember something. This was all the first time I was promoted. You know what I'm saying? And then they let me go.
The first wave.
Right. So and then when they let me go, like you said, my brother did my corporate papers. I had to become a licensed talent agent. I had to get bonded. I had to do all this stuff. And I hung my shingle up, the Branca Agency. And the people at William Morris didn't understand because I started then keeping the 10% commission, not giving the 10% commission to the agency and me getting a smidgen of it.
So you were putting a little bit into the. That's Tommy Davidson.
Yeah.
That's
Tommy was somebody that I signed.
Yeah, that's
and
Tommy.
This guy in the middle was Mighty Mike. He was a boxer.
Yeah, go back. He was a boxer.
Yeah, he was a boxer right there.
that picture of
There's a
me
picture of Eddie
and,
Griffin at the desk, but that's okay.
might be.
But Tom, if he could find it, Tony, you got that? You could find that photo of him at the desk sitting, kneeling on. Like, he looks like he's signing something, Eddie.
Okay, let me take a look.
Yeah, and Eddie's leaning over my shoulder. If
Leaning
you
over
have
his
it.
shoulder. Yeah, I'm pretty sure I sent it over.
Okay, but the beautiful thing is when I left William Morris to start my own agency, you know, I went to Martin Lawrence, and Martin Lawrence said, F them, man. Bill, do your own thing, Bill. Just do your own thing. I'm with you.
Right.
So then I went to, you know, and then at the time, you know, I had this new comic named Chris Rock, and I was building my relationship with him.
Well, I'm seeing this one
He
with
said,
Martin Lawrence.
Well, there's Martin right there. Who's the other one there, Bill? I know that's you, Martin.
That's Michael Hubbard. That's Martin Lawrence in the middle, and that's me. Have I aged much? And
Not much. Well, you were wearing a hat.
That's his first $100,000. That, you know, for the weekend he did like Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and then it was Sunday right after. We always collected cash. We never collected checks. So I was rolling with 100, 200, 300 grand, you know, back to LA. And I gave it to him. And I said, Martin, I'm so proud.
How much would he typically make it? How much would he typically make?
Well, at this point,
you were proud of him.
Yeah, I mean, when I booked him in the 500-seat, 1,000-seat theater, I mean, he was getting like maybe $2,000 guarantee, and I said the rest of the money is going to be on the back end. When we hit the break-even point, we're going to split it 80-20. So, you know, he always hit bonuses. You got to understand, he always sold out a show. He never, when he was with me, he never did a show that wasn't a sellout.
Right. He was always selling out. What was the highest ticket number? You think was it? He wasn't doing stadium arenas though, was he?
No, sir. You know, wait a minute. So I started building him up. This was 1991. His show, I think, hit the air in 1991. Okay. So I'm doing bigger venues, like I'm doing 7,500 seaters. I did a couple 10,000 seaters. So then what happened was, you know, I found a promoter who wanted to do exclusive, wanted the whole tour exclusive with me, because he saw the magic too. And Martin met him, you know, and we decided to go with him as our promoter. Okay. So then what happens is I have a phone call from Radio City Music Hall. This is insane. 1991, his show is on for one season. They say, not even a season. Okay, it was a summer start. Yeah, it was on. I don't know what did they do? 20 episodes maybe. They said we want Martin Lawrence on New Year's Eve.
Oh wow!
I said whoa.
That's
so
a
then,
big night. That's like double the pay. New Year's Eve is always double the pay.
Yeah. So I said, how many shows? They said, well, we'll put one show up and see if we can get two out of it. So I said, okay, let me talk to Martin about it. I mean, this is a huge step, because if we don't succeed at this is going to hurt him. Okay?
Right.
So I went back and I spoke to Martin, and we went through the pros and the cons. And you know, Martin, I mean, he said, fuck yeah, Bill. I'll sell it out. Fuck yeah. Okay, Martin.
He knew.
I went ahead and I made the deal. I started getting calls from people saying, hey, Bill, you can't do that to that guy, man. You're going to ruin his fucking career, Bill. It's just, Bill, what are you doing, man? That's such a rookie move, man. I said, okay. I said, let's see what happens on New Year's Day, okay? Not only did we sell out the two shows on New Year's Eve, we sold two shows out the day before New Year's Eve.
Oh, wow.
And then we sold one show out on New Year's Day. We sold 5 shows out at Radio City Music Hall. Wow. That put him into the stratosphere.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
So, how many seats was that?
7,500 seats per show.
So,
yeah, so
you sold 4 shows out,
30,000
people. 37,000.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
It's not a bad weekend.
How did you feel from going from after just leaving the William Morris agency because they basically fired you at that point. Because
Yeah,
now
I
you're
mean,
with Mark.
it was all good terms. You know, Dick Allen, I tried to find out from Dick. He says, Bill, this isn't my decision, Bill. This is business affairs, okay? And I knew who business affairs was, okay? And I said, all right. I said, don't worry about it, Dick. I'm going to go, and you got to give me a release on all my clients. And he did.
What are we looking
Yeah,
at
there you
Bill?
go. There's the Martin Lawrence Radio City Music Hall slide. We took an ad out in Variety.
Okay.
And that's the ad we took out. Now you got to remember something. So the show grossed $1,023,000. Okay,
Wow.
but this was 1991 money, first of all. Okay, and there's something else that you got to understand. With Martin Lawrence, we came to an agreement. Martin and I, we weren't going to inflate the tickets. We weren't going to make the tickets $75, $100. What we did was all the tickets were like $20, $25.
Right.
Then we had a golden pit. The golden pit was $100 a ticket, and maybe there were like $100 a ticket, and that was to sit like within the first 5 rows. We called it the golden circle.
That's how you make it. Yeah, so we did that with Andrew too. Andrew would always have that stuff. Golden circle, then you have the side tables and whatever. You know, you could always nickel and dime the front, and you make a lot more money.
But at Radio City Music Hall, we couldn't do it for $25. You know, maybe the tickets were maybe like $45, $50, but they were reasonable. Martin said, I don't want to go out and tour and my fans not be able to afford a ticket to my show.
Well, he thought about that. That was kind of him. A lot of people don't give a shit.
I can appreciate that.
Yeah.
No, a lot of people,
Now,
especially
Radio
today.
City Music Hall is about 7,500. Yeah. Radio City Music Hall is about 7,500 people. I performed there. That was one of my first gigs with Andrew when I opened for Dice. That's how I ended up becoming his full-time opening act. Was the night that I opened for him at Radio City. Then he took me on the road and we did all the rest. But yeah, that was a big night. So Radio City's a beautiful room.
That's huge, man. That's huge, Wheels.
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. That's when he invited me. I went from a 100-seat room in Pips Comedy Club in Brooklyn. He goes, "What are you doing next week?" And I ended up doing Radio City, and then I ended up his opening act at the time. I won't say who it was. He couldn't follow me, so Andrew put me on after him. So because the opening act couldn't follow me, and then I became his opening act, and the opening act was gone at that point, and I became his opening act. I was right after Eddie Griffin.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I was his open. So Eddie did some of the big shows, and then I came in right after Eddie, and that was his next major act for many years. But you know, like Martin Lawrence, though, I remember Martin hanging out at the Comedy Store. He was always a nice guy, Martin. A little wild, a little crazy, especially on Fat Tuesday. Remember Fat Tuesday at the Comedy Store?
I do. That was Guy Torrey. Yeah.
Yeah. That was amazing. Yeah. That was a wild night. What do we got there now? That's Martin.
That's just one of the passes.
Okay.
Yeah.
One of the packages from the show.
So then, how'd the Branca Agency do at that point? Were you only
representing
as the Branca Agency?
Okay, so you know, like I said, I saw the opening in Urban Comedy. Russell Simmons launched his Russell Simmons Def Comedy Jam. Martin was the host, but we were doing the Martin Lawrence tour, You So Crazy tour. We weren't doing the Def Comedy Jam tour. And then I'm collecting 10% commission. You know, I had like Eddie Griffin at the time. I had Martin Lawrence. I had Joe Torre, Guy Torre. These were all urban acts, black acts. I had Ricky Harris, Adele Givens. Then something weird happened. I got a call from Sandy Gallen, I think it was.
Sandy Gallen.
He was over at Brillstein, I think. And that's the company that did Def Comedy Jam.
Right.
They says, we want to give you Bill Maher.
So he wasn't so wait a minute. It's okay, Bill Maher. But before that, was Sandy Gallen with Gallen Morey, correct? Wasn't there? His partner was Morey. Something last name Morey. Do you remember him?
I can't remember.
Yeah. So you had Bill Maher, who's still very relevant.
So they gave me Bill Maher, and I was really excited because I really liked him. And what I did with Bill,
was he your only white comedian? I mean, not the bad, because everybody, it seems like you have
Yeah.
all black comedians, and that's fine. But I mean,
Yeah.
did you have any white or Hispanic comedians other than Bill Maher?
no, at that time, no. But I did expand my roster a little bit. But
Okay.
what we did with Bill Maher was I just thought the easiest way for me to represent this guy is to go to the college circuit, right? I went to a couple of the conventions. I put up my Bill Maher booth, and I booked him at colleges.
Oh, NACA.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
that was NACA.
And yeah, and I mean that was a real smart move too because that was his audience, you know.
Yeah, oh, sure. That was 100% his audience.
You know, and he was nothing. I mean, I would have to struggle to get a grand out of them. I mean,
Yeah,
it was
he was totally nothing at that time.
yeah.